Hi, how are you today? The improved package has arrived. We're having it fitted in time for FP1. Have a look at the factory report.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 career mode, episode number 117 today for the USA Grand Prix in Season 6. If you did miss the last episode of the Japanese Grand Prix, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. Quite a thriller of an episode, and if you did miss it, it was a very hectic one in terms of quite crucial also for the championship, and we did some really decent work at Japan to minimize the damage here. And coming to USA really might be the same thing, because although I mentioned quite strongly about Singapore and Malaysia being big races where we have to limit the damage that Daniel Ricciardo, our main rival obviously in the championship, could do to us. Here at USA also, I kind of forget that on this year's game, USA has actually become quite a challenging circuit this year against the AI. In games gone by, I should say, it's been pretty alright actually. It's been a very fun circuit, but on this year's game, I don't know about you guys, but for me at least, definitely my enjoyment factor of COTA has gone down somewhat almost. The cars do feel kind of awkward almost around this circuit, in my personal opinion, on this year's game compared to last year or the year before even in 2015. But, you know, it's something we have to get through, and hopefully the tyre wear upgrades will help us. Obviously, tyre wear has also become much more of a factor here at this race now in this year's game compared to last year, even though really the tyres have gotten more durable, but definitely the track surface is very abrasive, and, you know, the tyre strategy is definitely quite tricky to try and overcome in terms of versus the AI. The AI sometimes are very, very good at managing a one-stop, whereas so far I don't really think the one-stop's the way to go for at least me as a player against them, and I think we'll have a tough time making that work, and so we're going to have to try our best to at least make the two-stop work, because we definitely don't want to be doing a three-stop, because that's definitely way too many pit stops for us. But as we move on into the main heart of the race weekend, then we get given our new rival. We beat, I think it was Sebastian Vettel, if I remember correctly, literally just an episode ago, but I think it was Vettel we beat, and then we finally get given our actual championship rival, you know, the one we're actually facing in the championship. We get given as our in-game rival there, so how do you like that? So that's going to make things interesting, because, I mean, I'm not too 100% sure, but I like to think that the rival you get given does get given a little bit of a boost to performance almost in a way, and I don't know, maybe it's just the pressure factor, but I have always felt that whoever you have as your rival does appear just to do randomly better as soon as they become your rival. So it's going to be a good challenge to see Ricciardo maybe step up a little bit more so than he's already done, because obviously the Red Bull car and him and Verstappen have been pretty damn good, but in the last few races it's really all been about Renault. It's been kind of Renault having this resurgence, and especially with Hulkenberg winning the last race in just a dominant fashion. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes into this weekend. But we move into Q1, then you could see skating across the line there. We had a few issues. The first lap I did was not fast enough, so I had to do a second one, which is kind of a strange thing, because I haven't had to do that in a while in the Mercedes car really. So yeah, that wasn't the best way to maybe start qualifying in terms of we have to go out again. But in Q2 then you can see overcast conditions at the moment there, and so we go through the lap, and it was a lot tidier into turn 1 than it was in Q1, and across the line we come. At the moment there it's P5. As we go through to a second flying lap, it actually starts to rain, and the thing that I maybe you didn't see on the screen there was that first flying lap I did was actually on the scrub set of tyres. It was actually a set I used in Q1, because I thought maybe a second kind of go in Q2 would be the faster run, but I did not account for. You can clearly see it's starting to rain now, and so this second final lap on brand spanking new set of ultra soft tyres is not going to be fast. You can see I'm already down my time as we go through the S section. Then the kind of copy of Maggotts and Beckett's, if you will, for the Circuit of the Americas, we lose hand over fist, and I just abandon the lap there, and you can see we're just about in P10, which I'm actually annoyed about. I would have rather of us got knocked out and, you know, come P11 just outside the top 10, because then we could have started on brand spanking new sets of ultra soft tyres for the race. But now we're going to be forced to be on the back foot and start on a scrub set of ultra soft tyres, which I've already done 2 flying laps on, and then you take into account the 2 apiece kind of in and out laps. So I've done a total of already kind of 4 slow laps and 2 fast laps on this set of ultra soft tyres, which now I'm going to be forced onto for the start of the USA Grand Prix, unless, fingers crossed, it starts raining at the start of the Grand Prix, but I don't think that's going to be the case looking at the weather indicator. And then we move into Q3 then. Q3 actually started on intermediate conditions. You can see on the top left, people have already set times on the intermediates. I waited because I could see it was going to dry out at the end, so you can see the grip levels are actually not too bad actually compared to the end of Q2. Actually, they're a lot better, and so everyone's going to set times on the ultra soft tyres. But unfortunately, like we've seen before, the AI are just very, very good at mastering these conditions where it's dry tyres, but it's still damp enough to affect your lap, and so we can't cross the line, and it's stowed in last in Q3, and the same for Hamilton. I'm woefully off the pace of Hamilton, and Hamilton's off the pace of everyone else, and so it's a really annoying P9 and P10 for the Mercedes crew. So Not looking good. Not looking good for the start of this race weekend. Hulkenberg smashes it again with pole position there. Ricciardo in P3. And so it is, as I said, actually going to turn into another damage limitation race for us, just like Singapore and Malaysia was. Yeah, we're going to have to try and do the best job we can. Ricciardo is there in third place. And if he gets 15 points and we're down in P10, we have to try and get anywhere near to him because the gap was only 14 points. So if he was to get 15, I was to get 1, he would close down that gap exactly to, nothing in it in the championship. So it's crucial for us to at least get away and get further than P10 in this Grand Prix, which I'm confident we can do. Just have to make sure we do it, and we'll have to see about any of the weather. For now, it's going to be dry, but don't know about later on in the race. Might rain, might not. We'll have to see. But Nico Hulkenberg as well, as I said last episode, he's on pole now. He won last race. If he continues like this and has a dominant end to this season, he could thrust himself into a late championship charge here. So we have to watch out for that as well. But let's go to the grid then, see if there's any penalties to maybe talk about, and then we'll go to the race and see what we can do around Austin, Texas.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Nico Hulkenberg lines up on pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Palmer, Max Verstappen, and Raikkonen, Ocon, Vettel, a Mercedes, and Carlos Sainz, Grosjean, Alonso, Stoffel Van Dorn, and Hamilton, Kvyat, Wehrlein, Kevin Magnussen, and Felipe Massa, Stroll, and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So there is a grid penalty to help us then in this Grand Prix. Unfortunately, though, it is my teammate Lewis Hamilton, but nonetheless, we move up into P9 then in this Grand Prix. So thanks for that, Lewis. And so we look ahead to the race strategy. Then you can see that default 2-stop there. So my team, even with the major tyre upgrade we just did, my engineer's default strategy is not even the 1-stop then. So that's why I said at the very beginning of the episode, I don't think we can manage that. We never have done and been able to do that around here at USA, whereas maybe some of the other guys around us might try it. But let's just try our best here as we go to 5 red lights then to the USA Grand Prix around Kota. 5 red lights are out and we're underway. It is a pretty okay start, but nothing amazing there. And Vettel and Raikkonen definitely get a better one. And also that Toro Rosso there, you can see on the left-hand side. Hamilton also trying to find his way up the order, obviously after having that engine penalty. We get shoved off the road by Hamilton and Vettel there. I thought initially it was just Vettel's fault, but it's actually Hamilton who's had a madness of a start. Looks like he's done a switchback move essentially on Vettel and forced Vettel wide, and then that's a domino effect to me. And so Vettel had no kind of other option than to shove me wide as well. So I kind of have to blame Hamilton for that, but obviously he's just doing his best to fight Vettel. So GG's to Lewis, and yeah, he's made a stonking start. He's made a start that I hoped I could make, and not the case. And so we have to wait until the back straight now to make the move on the German there. Our previous rival, just the previous episode from Japan, and we're up the order now into P9, so we're back in our grid slot. But Hamilton is already up into P8, so he's made a great start there from his initial lower position. And so I think at the moment, as I look ahead, I think it's still Hulkenberg leading the way very much. But now we move on to lap 2. Hamilton going for a move potentially on Esteban Ocon here. We're going to try and feed our way through. They both lock up, so I tried to make a move on the left-hand side. Doesn't work out. I can clearly see I'm going to get pinched there by the Frenchman, and those two go still side by side. Hamilton pushes Ocon off the edge there. That sends Ocon a little bit off kilter and off balance, and we tried to make a move to the inside. We do make it work there, but had to initially lift off and watch out for him just slowing us down basically. So that was a little bit of a nervous kind of move, I'm going to be honest there, at the back of those two, because the two were they were fighting so much, they're fighting each other so much that they didn't really obviously have any kind of inclination of where I was going to be on track. So I had to kind of just kind of thread the needle and kind of hope for the best almost. But eventually we did get it into that corner where obviously Fernando Alonso made that awesome move on Massa, I think it was, if I remember correctly, back in 2016 I want to say. And so now we go down the inside then of Hamilton and we're up into P7. That's a very easy move actually on our teammate there. We're quite some way back actually with DRS, but Hamilton just didn't seem to be there under the brake zone, and so we're up into P7. And so now we push hard onto lap 8 and we're going to come in already. Now seems pretty early, and obviously remember there's a big reason for us to come in this early. We're obviously already 2 laps gone onto these tyres. I had 1 lap in Q1, 1 lap in Q2 on these tyres, and so this is the unfortunate result. I have to come a little bit earlier, but I could see behind me, I think that was Raikkonen as well, has come in with me. So Kimi also struggling on his set of tyres, but we're onto a set of super soft tyres, and we're going to make this 2-stop work. So we'll go on to about, I would say lap 17, I think it would be, on this set of tyres, and then we'll go to another set of super soft tyres. That'll be 11 laps to the end of lap 28 around here at the USA Grand Prix. So it's not going to be a huge task to make the 2-stop work. It's just the fact that maybe some other guys around is going to have a bit of a faster strategy maybe on their hands, but Anyways, we move on to lap 8, closing up to this train tail-ended by Marcus Ericsson. Then in the Sauber, we're down in P18, and it's Hamilton also now behind us in P19 on the ultra-soft tyres, so he's made his pit stop. He's on a set of ultra-soft tyres, so that could mean he's trying a very audacious and aggressive 3-stop strategy, or a very audacious 2-stop with making 2 ultra-soft tyres work. So maybe Lewis is finding some more performance in that tyre upgrade than I am. For sure, I definitely could not make the 2-stop work with 2 sets of ultra softs. We have to go to 2 different sets of super softs there. But again, that might just be the AI being a little bit, maybe a little bit easier on the tyres than I have been in the past. So we go down the inside for a diving move there on Lance Stroll, and he's still hanging it around the outside. So fair play to the young Canadian there. We're going to have to try around the outside, or maybe a switchback move. We have to lift off and actually brake mid-corner as Stroll goes very slowly there. It wasn't an intentional brake check from him, probably just a lack of downforce in that Williams car, but the full course yellow has been called out because there's a full safety car out now in this Grand Prix, so it all calms down somewhat, and we go into lean mixture, and so we're going to get up the order. Obviously, there's a few people dive into the pits, and they're going to effectively get a bit of a free pit stop almost there, and leading the way at the moment is Daniel Ricciardo. Actually, it's a 1-2 for Red Bull here, and Ricciardo on the super soft tyres, and Verstappen as well. I think potentially both of them double stack, so I think Ricciardo, I think that must mean he qualified on the super soft tyres in Q2, so very clever from the Australian then, and so he was able to have track position. And I think Verstappen's on ultra soft, so once again, like we've seen before in the past, Verstappen able to pull along the softest tyre compound for way longer than any other driver, and so Ricciardo's onto a set of soft tyres, and so that might spell bad news for us, because that might actually just mean Ricciardo's trying a very bold 1-stop here in this Grand Prix, along with, I think that was the Force India of Sergio Perez. Obviously, we know the Renault guys aren't going to do that because they have very poor tyre wear, but Hülkenberg was the one leading this Grand Prix still when the safety car came out, in terms of Renault had already made their pit stops, I should say, so obviously that's why Ricciardo was still out there in first place, because he had not made his pit stop there, and so Ricciardo gets an effective free pit stop, and he's maybe going to go to the end on soft tyres, so that's going to be a bit tricky. I'm going to have to hope that the likes of Perez and Hülkenberg and Palmer and Verstappen really can maybe fight Ricciardo hard and try and overtake him. Otherwise, you know, he might win this race. If he gets 25 points, I'm down here in P9, that's going to be him into the lead of this championship. So we're going to have to monitor that and see how that kind of pans out for us. But we move now on to lap 12. We made a very easy move on the Sauber there, and Hamilton's also got past. Up ahead you can see Raikkonen is fighting Fernando Alonso in the McLaren then, so kind of all getting frosty as we get going on green flags on the first lap after the safety car has been pulled in. As we go through the S section now, really pulling on Alonso there, so the McLaren not only lacking some power but maybe some momentum there behind the Ferrari, but you can see we get caught up in some dirty air there, and we have to kind of twitch the car and correct it to stop it spinning, and we have to wait until the back straight as we send it down the inside. His teammate Stoffel Van Dorn's got a major issue there, he has, and that's for position as well. So both the McLarens in the top 10 at the moment. I think they're out of sync and yet to pit in this Grand Prix though, I think, and so we go down the inside of Stoffel. We push him hard to the left hand side, but he's still there on the inside, and we just about manage to get it though around the outside on the left-handed then in the kind of off-canvas stadium section. We're up into P7 now, and now we've got some clean air to chase after Kimi Raikkonen, and we do so, and we close up to him on lap 14 there with a bit of a lock-up though. Rich mix going though, DRS will be available down this straight, and so this should be hopefully a pretty straightforward move. Let's see how much time we gain here. Obviously we know the car's pretty damn good in a straight line with drag reduction updates as well, we've done previously in the season. So here we go, diving move down the inside, bit of a lock up on the left tyre. That's calm, kind of very calm overtake actually, and we make it work up into P5. So although we are struggling maybe for overall pace in this Grand Prix and tyre wear compared to the Red Bull, Renault and maybe the one Force India of Sergio Perez, when we're closing up to these cars actually with some good momentum in DRS, we're actually making some very easy and good passes. But now we come into the pit stops, as I literally said, on lap 17, so no dramas there. This is when we plan to make the pit stop. In hindsight, maybe should have stretched it maybe a little bit more, and that would have given us maybe more tyre wear to work with on this set of super soft tyres due to the safety car coming out. But really I just thought the pace was going off a little bit, and Hamilton had already come in one lap earlier than me, so Hamilton is going to get the undercut on me, and around Kota the undercut definitely does work very powerfully. So we're going to have to watch that. As we come out of the pits, you can see there is Vettel, and ahead of Vettel is already Hamilton. So what did I just say about the undercut? Hamilton's already gone and done the undercut, so now we've got to try try and re-overtake Hamilton and also effectively re-overtake Vettel, the man we overtook very early on this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, from the lead of this race is Nico Hülkenberg coming in, and it's going to be a double stack for the Renault guys. So I don't know what it is about this race, but the AI are loving the double stacks, and so both Renaults in from a 1-2. It was a 1-2 for Renault, and now it's going to be Sergio Perez that leads the way on soft tyres, from Daniel Ricciardo also on soft tyres in second place. So Perez and Ricciardo trying an audacious one-stop. At the moment, they're in the driving seat to be leading this Grand Prix, with Perez there in first place and Ricciardo second, but it will be Hülkenberg just out, I think, in around third or fourth place, depending on where Max Verstappen is, and Palmer also not too far behind. But as we move on now to a replay of this, is Daniel Ricciardo fighting for the lead of this Grand Prix, is round the outside there of the back straight. DRS open, but a big double lock up there for the Australian, so the Mexican stays ahead in the lead of this Grand Prix. So good stuff there for me to see Perez staying ahead. You can see in the background there, that's Hülkenberg's Renault, not too far off the pace, although Ricciardo's one-stop's giving him track position. Nico Hülkenberg is not too far behind on his two-stop, and he's got some great pace on that upgraded Renault. But focusing back on us on lap 21 and closing up to Sebastian Vettel in sector 1. You saw previously we did close up down the back straight, just didn't have enough oomph though down that straight to make the move down the inside like we have done previously, and we get hit with a bit of more dirty air like we did with Fernando Alonso then, and it takes us an entire lap then onto lap 22 to finally catch back up to Vettel. So that dirty air really did affect us quite a bit, and so we had to wait and recompose ourselves. But finally now we make a very easy pass then with DRS wide open, get the overspeed going, and we're up into P7. Hamilton up the road in P6. He's within catching distance perhaps, so let's try and see if we can do that with only 6 laps to go though. Might be a bit of a tough task. Meanwhile though, as I spoke about, Nico Hülkenberg not too far behind these two, the leaders. Hülkenberg's now caught up. He's in P3, right up the chuff of Daniel Ricciardo. So go on, my former teammate Hülkenberg is going to overtake my other former teammate of Daniel Ricciardo, and he's going to go up the order into P2, and that's going to be so helpful for us in terms of limiting the damage today done by Ricciardo up there, up the order, getting 15 points now rather than 18 if it ends like this. Hülkenberg now looks like he's smelling blood though, and may try and overtake Sergio Perez, and if he does, that might thrust him into maybe the question mark, as I said, of the championship if he's winning 2 races in a row, and myself and Ricciardo a little bit down the order. But now we've got to do some defensive work rather than attack Hamilton. We've got to defend from behind to Sebastian Vettel. He tries to make a move there, but kind of backs down quite easily as I move aggressively to the left to squeeze him to the left-hand side. He kind of backs out there and kind of, I think, lifted off a tad, and so he's going to stay behind and stay put there as we stay in P7. Meanwhile, though, up the road, this is Lewis Hamilton now closing up to Max Verstappen. A big lock up there from Verstappen, and Hamilton has to get brake checked somewhat into the last corner as they go down the main straight now. This is only with a couple of laps to go now in this Grand Prix. Hamilton goes up to overtake Verstappen, and Verstappen definitely has some issues now in this Grand Prix because he's going very slowly compared to his teammate Ricciardo, who's flying at the moment in P3, and Hamilton is up the order now up into P5, and so that might have us licking our lips because we might have the opportunity to overtake Verstappen right to the death of this Grand Prix to further limit the damage, because you can see now Ricciardo doesn't look like he's getting up any further than P3, but one man that is getting up the order further from where he was is Hülkenberg, and now he has taken or retaken the lead of the Grand Prix, and he's flying in first place with Perez second place now, and Ricciardo still there in third. So Hülkenberg is going to maybe have 2 wins on the trot there, so he'll be very happy about that, and I'm going to be very happy about this at least as we go on to the second last lap of the Grand Prix now. Nice and patient with DRS, but look how fast we're closing on Verstappen here. He definitely has issues now in this Grand Prix. I don't know, probably definitely mechanical, I would say. And we go right around the outside of him, and we're up into P6 with Hamilton in P5 waltzing away now. You can see the tyre definitely has kicked in for us. And so now the only car up ahead to overtake is Van Dorn, who kind of a fall from grace, really. Both McLarens were in the top 10, remember, and now somehow Van Dorn's are trolling around being lapped. So McLaren definitely didn't have the best of races from the initial really good first stint for them. But mentioning the tyre wear just before in terms of maybe catching Hamilton and how he's waltzed away, he's done absolutely amazingly to do 2 sets of ultra softs and then 1 set of super soft tyres. So as I said previously, it looks like he's putting the tyre wear upgrades to use, whereas honestly I really didn't see any kind of benefit from that upgrade this weekend, I'm going to be honest. Maybe it'll come into play more at Mexico, because I think either way, you know, getting away even without tyre wear, as I was saying, this circuit on this year's game for some reason just feels a lot trickier to actually manage compared to previous games. But yeah, maybe that's going to be the case in Mexico. It might come in, but definitely this race I didn't feel it. But we come across the line then in P6, and got to be happy with that overall, because you know it was looking a lot bleaker until Verstappen retired there, and also Hülkenberg did some good stuff for us to overtake Ricciardo and get up into first place. But Ricciardo still, at the end of the day, got third place, so he got 15 points for that. And then for my P6, obviously, I'll be getting 10 points for that, if I count that correctly. Have I counted that correctly? I don't think I have. I think I'm getting 8 points. I think I've miscalculated that. Anyway, we'll see that in a second. But Hulkenberg getting first, 25 points in the back for him. He's going to really thrust himself into potentially a championship charge, because look at that. He's only 22 points off me. So if he was to win the next 2 races, let's say, and I was to finish down where I have been doing the last 2, Ricciardo has some bad luck, he could be right there. And also for the constructors, for sure, even more than the Drivers' Championship, Renault, as a team, have really stepped up the mark. Me and Hamilton have to be a bit wary about that, but overall, I think that's the best I could have hoped for in terms of damage limitation there. Probably the only better thing I could have done was stayed ahead of Hamilton, maybe on strategy, maybe pit at the same lap as him to not lose out on the undercut. But then in hindsight, I probably would have got held up and lost time to him, lost time to everyone holding him up and defending him. So overall, can't be too disheartened by that. And at the end of the day, still leading the Drivers' Championship. So that's the only thing that matters really for me personally coming away from this episode. So guys, if you have enjoyed that episode, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly F1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.